Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Canada versus MAGA. Hi, I'm Chesh. Welcome. Happy Tuesday, everybody. I hope you guys are having a good day. We're going back. We're going back. We're going back into Canada's version of Project 2025. Now, the Conservatives have been complaining that, and alleging that Mark Carney plagiarized some part of his thesis in 1995. And nobody cared. Like, nobody really gave a shit. But I mean, based on what I've been reading from Project 2025, I am wondering if the Conservatives are going to get in trouble for plagiarizing America's Project 2025. But before we start with that, we need to check in and on our insane commander-in-chief down in America. And this is what he had to say about the stock market plummeting into the abyss. Only the weak will fat. Only the weak. Like a thin-skinned old man that can't take a joke, like that kind of weak, or a different kind of weak? What kind of weak are we talking about here? I didn't know that you could do Darwinism in economics. I didn't realize that was an option. But it seems like it is. There's also been apparently trouble in paradise. If we take a look over here, we've got Musk and Navarro are arguing. To the surprise of nobody, trouble in paradise. Literally nobody likes Elon Musk. I also had a video that I could show you guys of Elon Musk being bullied. You guys want to see the Elon Musk being bullied on the internet? There you go. Let's pull this up. Check it, bro. Look at this. He's on his plane, his private plane, and he's playing Path of Exiled, and people are just straight bullying him. Like, you'd think the world's biggest genius would write a macro that would let him not have to type out ignore for every single person. And would just have a hotkey for it, but whatever. I hope this makes everybody feel a little bit better. There's something special about somebody who thinks that they're well liked and thinks that they can just blame other people not liking them off of like fake news or trolls or getting paid off by George Soros. Meanwhile, like, people want not like the gaming community's pissed because they're not going to be able to buy Nintendo Switches. Their computers are going to get really fucking expensive. Good God, very funny. I could watch this on a loop for a while. But yeah, trouble in paradise. Elon Musk escalated his war of words with Trump trade advisor Peter Navarro on Tuesday, calling him truly a moron and dumber than a sack of bricks over comments about Musk's businesses. Why it matters. The gloves are off, and Musk, who has already challenged Trump's trade policy publicly, is now getting increasingly personal with the architect of that policy, which is still Trump, but whatever, fine. The White House asked for comment on Musk-Navarro spat, pointed to a statement issued in CNBC in which the press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, said, "Whatever, we are the most transparent administration in history, expressing our disagreements in public." There's something special about Caroline Leavitt. I don't know what it is, but there's something special about the White House press secretary responding with, whatever. It just sounds like Napoleon Dynamite. But alas, we should jump into this. I don't want to spend too much time not talking about this because we got to get through it. We landed on page 15 where I just decided we needed that. That's enough. I don't need to read anymore. I also wanted to show you guys something, just for a slight comparison. We're not going to watch all of these right now, but I do want to give you guys a hint about what I'm looking at doing for the last week of our election. So that would be the the week of the 21st to the 25th, where I want to compare speeches and press releases by Carney and ones by Polyev, and I want to put them side by side. So let's just listen to like a minute of this. So this is in BC. But this is in Terrace, BC, and this is in Victoria, BC. So both of these, so I want to try to like talk about and show you guys how they're talking to the people in the places like one-to-one where they're at. Unfinished Jury for Two said, "Hail Nero, hail Chesh, hail Canadadia." So let's start with Polyev. We're not, like I said, we're not gonna watch the whole thing right now. I just want to show you like maybe like 5 minutes of each.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Inland Port in Terrace, BC. Before we get started, I want to introduce the representative from Kitsillas First Nation, and Chief Glenn Bennett is not here today. He's on a trade mission, but he sent his representative. His name is Cyril Nablas. We know him as CJ. So would you please welcome CJ to the podium?
Great to see you, my friend. Thanks very much.
Thank you
really
for having
appreciate it.
That's me. What are you doing? What are you doing? I'm getting PTSD flashbacks. Why would you do this to this poor man? What are you doing? You brought in this guy is supposed to be representing the First Nations. And they brought him in front of, that's an oil, that's a big old oil machine. That's a big old oil transfer machine that was built by the Liberals, by the way. And they didn't even give this man a step thing. They didn't put the box a little shorter. They didn't like, what? Listen, we love a short king. And this is not his fault. Sir, consider standing up for yourself. Please.
Bye. Sim gigat. Sigaram hana. Lekigat. Gabawalsik. Loose spike knots. Dawayu. Get house. Get salasu. Noatgu. Tlabach lakskan. Lachupum. Get salasu. Ada. Get some kalam. Lachwalams. Metlakatla. Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs.
Sorry, I like that Carney's nodding in the background, looking down at him like he's a child, as if Pierre Polyev understood anything he just fucking said. I don't believe for a second this man speaks that language.
Bienvenue sur les territoires de la Kitsillas. Je m'appelle Cyril Bennett Nabes.
Now he's laughing at his French.
Je suis le chief adjoint. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not as tall as my friends here, so I kind of have to stand to the right. But on behalf of the people of Kitsillas and my neighboring nations, I would like to welcome you to our homelands, the homelands of the Kitsillas, the Tsimshian, the Metlakatla, and the Lachwalams people.
I don't know. There's something that feels like, maybe I'm wrong about this, but there's something that feels in really bad taste to be having this guy clearly set up to be mocked, right? Like, at least at best negligence, right? At best negligence. Have this guy set up to be mocked as a First Nations representative in front of an oil rig. Maybe I'm being too sensitive. Maybe this is a me problem, admittedly, but like something about this seems like just mean and like kind of seems like slappy in the face-ish. I am not First Nations, so please, First Nations people, you let me know. Please sound out in the chat. I would love to hear your opinions on this. Maybe I'm being oversensitive. Maybe it's just a me thing.
Which call these lands home. It is a great honor to have you here today to be a part of this morning and to be a part of this session. With that, Tlabach Lakskan, bienvenue, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. That was wonderful.
I have a gift for you
Oh, that's
later.
good.
Always
Thank
awesome.
you.
French?
Glenn.
French?
Thank you.
My dad's side.
That's great.
Okay. Thank you very much, CJ. Hello, everyone. I'm Ellis Ross. I'm your conservative candidate for Skeena Bulkley Valley. And
Okay, I'm
wanna
gonna
thank you
skip
for
this
coming
guy
today.
because I don't care about him.
Yeah.
Or sorry, no offense.
And thank you, Cyril, for bringing greetings on behalf of Chief Bennett. And you said that you're not as tall as the two of us. The important thing is that your legs are long enough to reach the ground. So thank you very
Boo! That joke doesn't make any sense.
much for a great prayer and a wonderful land acknowledgement to welcome us to this great land of yours. And merci beaucoup à Ellis Ross, un grand chef, un projet en point de briser notre Est-ce qu'on va et les aux Américains approuvant nos résultats?
Sorry, I'm just skipping the French because he says the same thing in English.
Notre annonce in English before I get started. Ellis Ross is our great candidate for this, the single LNG infrastructure project. Personally helped negotiate the single biggest infrastructure project in Canadian history. LNG Canada, $40 billion of investment brought to this region because of his leadership, with First Nations being the primary beneficiaries. I need Ellis Ross on Parliament Hill helping me land more $40 billion LNG plants for our people nationwide on all the coasts. And I can't wait to bring the incredible riches to the Haisla, the Kitsala, the Niska, the Squamish, and countless other coastal First Nations who want to build LNG export terminals. They know.
Yeah, it's an export terminal. It's basically that's for shipping oil and to assist shipping oil out of Canada.
That Prime Minister Harper was right to approve LNG Canada. They know that that project could only have happened without C-69, the anti-development liberal law that Mark Carney wants to keep in place.
That's not an anti-development law.
Speaking of
it's more of an
economic
emissions
matters,
law.
we are all watching the stock market with interest today. We have to acknowledge that this chaos is the direct result of wrong-headed, unnecessary, chaotic policies coming from President Trump. These tariffs are a massive distraction, and they remind us why it was such a mistake for the Liberals to make us so dependent on the Americans over the lost Liberal decade.
Okay, so he has this, like, slogan called the Lost Liberal Decade, and you're gonna hear it over and over and over again, as if Canada didn't do anything for the last 10 years, and that literally makes no sense. One of the first things that Trudeau did when he was elected at first was he started untangling Canada from America. It was one of the first things he did.
Now, obviously, Mark Carney will be trotting out his trophy titles and the inflated hype around his false resume claims.
False resume claims and trophy titles. Well, are they trophies? If the trophy titles are the resume claims, then how are they false? First off. Second off, what are you talking about? I do not like this right-wing extremist hatred that these people have and the dismissal these people have about education. About knowing things. They talk about knowing things as if it's bad or wrong, or as if, like, having an education is bad or wrong. I am not traditionally educated. I am not a professional. It doesn't mean that I don't know anything about anything, and it doesn't mean that I need to shit on an expert. In fact, it should mean I should listen to the experts.
On this day, but let's be clear, at this time, the last thing we need is to take a risk on the failed ideas of Mark Carney. Mark Carney has been wrong about every major economic issue of our time. He was wrong to support carbon taxes. He was wrong to oppose pipelines. He was wrong 4 years ago when he said the biggest risk to the world was deflation and proposed hundreds of billions of dollars of money printing. He was wrong when he caused the inflation crisis in Great Britain.
I'm gonna stop it. Caused the inflation. Mark Carney, one guy, caused the inflation crisis in Great Britain. Polyev just spit out into the world, dribbling out of his mouth in the rain, that Mark Carney did Brexit. And that is the funniest fucking thing I have ever fucking heard. Bro, this man talked for 2 minutes and all he is trying to do is shit on the other party. He's not telling you why you should vote for him. All he's telling you is why he thinks you shouldn't vote for the other guy. And for some reason, he thinks that Mark Carney, and he thinks that people are going to be stupid enough to believe that Mark Carney caused Brexit and caused the inflation crisis in Britain. Which is not only is that insane, but also, like, it's just laughably not true. And, like, yeah, not only would that make Mark Carney, like, basically a god of how powerful he is, but also, like, Mark Carney publicly said multiple times, and got criticism for saying so, that he said that the infrastructure and the economy wasn't ready for, like, Britain's economy wasn't ready for Brexit. And people said, oh, well, it's not your job to say that. And he's like, nah, I think it's kind of my responsibility to say that. Like, for anybody who watches this channel, I covered this. Alright, we're gonna stop him there, because that's the most ridiculous fucking thing I've ever heard. For comparison, this is Mark Carney in Victoria, BC. So both of them are BC. He decided to do a talk very, like, industrial looking outside, but this is gonna give you, like, the vibe of the difference between the two. Check this out.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to beautiful Saanich Gulf Islands. My name is David Beckham. I am your Liberal candidate, and welcome to this beautiful misty morning. We are so delighted to have you all here today, and we're so delighted to welcome the 24th Prime Minister of Canada, Mr. Mark Carney.
There you go. Good. Thank you very much, David. Good morning, everyone. It is fantastic to be back on Vancouver Island. As some of you know, I have family here, family working for our great Liberal candidate in Nanaimo. I'd like to, actually, I should start thanking Kristen Needham and everyone here at Seasider Inn, very clever name, by the way, for hosting us on the incredible Saanich Peninsula. This is a beautiful spot on a volatile day, and I'm not talking about the weather. The world woke up to some pretty dramatic moves, and they're ongoing in financial markets. So before I get to the main subject at hand, I want to spend a few moments talking about what that means for us in Canada. And I think the first observation is what's going on is a direct consequence of President Trump's unjustified tariffs against.
So both of them have mentioned the tariffs. This one was on April 7th. This one, I believe, was also on April 7th. So these were both on the same day.
Canada, tariffs that were first levied on Canada and Mexico, and then on the world. And those measures are going to hit a lot of people's savings, including their retirement savings. And as much as this is unfortunate, it was not unforeseen. This is what we have been concerned about. And indeed, this is what we've been trying to warn the President of the United States about. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There may be some tough days ahead for Canadians, but I also want to reassure that we are prepared. We foresaw this. And borrowing on my experience helping to guide Canada through the 2008 financial crisis, and helping the United Kingdom weather the...
I will remind you guys that the 2008 financial crisis was Harper's government that Pierre brought up. Stephen Harper, the prior conservative, the last conservative PM.
Impacts of Brexit. We have been taking steps, and we are continuing to take steps to protect Canadians. Today, my plan is to speak about environmental sustainability, and I will get to that in a moment. But this current crisis, financial crisis and economic crisis, reminds us about the other forms of sustainability. And the first is fiscal sustainability, a government that is sustainable. La saine gestion des finances publiques nous évite pour que les investissements privés sustainability. In other words, our ability as individuals to provide for ourselves and our families while we're working, during our careers, and into retirement. And President Trump's actions are challenging that personal sustainability by disrupting the global economy, global financial markets.
I'm just trying to give them both the same amount of time.
By directly targeting Canadian workers and by fundamentally reshaping the international trading system. So many Canadians are understandably worried about their jobs and their retirement savings, which is why, anticipating this need, we announced this morning that we will help to protect Canadians' retirement savings from this market uncertainty. We will reduce the minimum amount that must be withdrawn from registered retirement income funds by 25% for the next year.
That's huge. This also is a little bit something that matters because in this speech later down the line, Poilievre goes into talking about how much of a problem what the Liberals are doing is going to cause issues for retirement age people in retirement plans and like their retirement savings. Before Poilievre even brought it up, he had already dealt with it. My Unfinished Stock for Two said, "Don't be a parasitic Palpatine. Like and share." Thank you very much.
And the benefit here is that seniors won't have to withdraw as much of their hard-earned savings when markets are volatile, as they will continue to be until this trade war is sorted out. We will also support seniors by temporarily boosting the guaranteed income supplement by 5%. Low-income seniors are amongst the groups that are most vulnerable during times of economic uncertainty and market pressure. These people are on fixed incomes. They don't, in general, have the ability to work. And this boost will help them to weather the storm.
As opposed to America right now being like, just go back to work, old people, and as opposed to the conservative plan, which is raising the age of retirement again, and just being like, we need to pump our market full of retirees. Like, what are you talking about?
Ajoute aux mesures assurance leur ainsi, ce qui va aussi nous offrir.
I've heard that Mark Carney's French is getting better, but I don't know. I'll take people's word for it.
The third kind of sustainability is my principal topic for today, environmental sustainability. We are blessed in this country because we are rich in nature. People from all over the world come to visit BC, to visit Vancouver Island, to visit Canada, to enjoy the kind of view we have right here, right now. Although your view is somewhat better than my view, but that's okay. It's not bad. It's not bad, my view, but better that way.
He's charismatic, man.
The natural beauty of our nation is stunning. And our natural heritage is virtual.
At least he made a joke that landed, not whatever the fuck your legs touching the ground was supposed to mean about making fun of somebody for being short after they fucked him over.
Without equal around the world. Just as we Canadians care about our language, we care about our culture, we care for our natural world. As Canadians, nature is our nature. And this wisdom comes to us from indigenous traditions. As Elder Duke Redbird says in his poem, The Power of the Land, in every nation, in every clan, the elders to a person, whether woman or a man, shared a common truth, one truth to understand, that the spirit of the people is equal to the power of the land. Malheureusement, il faut se rendre à l'évidence.
All right, we'll stop him there. I think the massive comparison between we need to build more oil shit and look how nice it is here. We should probably not fuck that up. But without sacrificing our economic stability. And so, like, I feel like that's pretty much like, what happens? What's the conservative plan? What's the conservatives' plan when the rest of the world moves away from oil? We're gonna have all of this fucking resource, like, assuming that that happens before we run out of oil, right? Because it's not like it lasts forever. What's the conservatives' plan when either the oil runs dry or selling oil changes in price and people aren't buying it for either more or less or whatever? Right? You know what I mean? So, like, what's your plan? You have no plan. They have no fucking plan. There's no sustainability here. It's just, like, take. And let's definitely be rich. But we know that under their conservative government, there's no plan for that. It's trickle-down economics. And we all know trickle-down economics is fucking garbage. Absolute garbage. Cheers, there's a giant beanie trying to swallow your head. No! So long, everyone. Goodbye. I'm doomed. I'm done. I'm out. This is my Tim Pool hat. I like to wear it when I'm talking about regressives. Alright, well, that's just kind of the difference in the vibe. I think that there's even something to be said. Like, I've said this before, and when I talk about, like, YouTubers and stuff like that, like, your background is intentional. Whether or not you've actually put the work in. Like, I forgot to put this tape away, for example. But I've got, like, Kleenex right here, but it's off screen. If you look at chat there, you can see that I've got, like, pens and pencils and shit. I do a lot of art. So you can kind of see, I got a bar of soap because I like to tell people how disgusting they are. Use soap. Stop being gross. Also, it smells nice. But, like, you can tell something by the intention, the intentionality of a background. And, like, these are pressers. These are for the press. These are for people, right? So when you look at, like, for example, like, it's intentional that this is all, like, an oil rig behind him, right? And it's intentional that this is all greenery, right? It's to emphasize the intent of the message. The intent of the message of Poilievre's is drill, baby, drill. And the intent of Carney is talking about natural resource development. And realistically, like, do you really, like, not see a difference between those things? Ye face. Oh, God. Imagine caring about nature. Sounds kind of woke. Well, and the thing is he's also talking about development. And that's the thing that, like, the catch-22 there, right? We're talking about the difference between just trying to produce forever in an uncertain market and a sustainable government or a sustainable fiscal situation. Right? And, like, one of those is inherently a better choice for the future than the other. Like, and it's not, like, it's obvious, but we'll look at both of those in full. Not next week, the week after, where I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna pull a bunch of, once they're done, a bunch, we're gonna do, like, we'll look at BC, like, we'll check BC, we'll try and do, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. So we'll see across how many provinces they go. I know Mark Carney has had to stop twice to go back to Ottawa for, like, you know, doing prime minister things. So we'll see what we get to, but, you know. It's important to remember that Carney's not against the pipeline. he's just determined to do it as ethically as possible. Yeah. There's and we'll get more into like what that looks like. You're right. We're gonna get into a little bit more about what that rhetoric looks like when we cover these more thoroughly. I just wanted to give you guys kind of like a vibe and a taste for kind of what we're dealing with and the type of people we're talking about. On top of that, there is a when it comes down to the pipelines, the Liberals approved a pipeline like during Trudeau's tenure, during the lost Liberal decade. So, like, they approved a pipeline. So, like, Alberta got a pipeline. Alberta's oil production has increased under the lost Liberal decade. So why is Alberta struggling so much? It's because their premier is a fucking psycho. Conservative. Right-wing nutcase. Good God. All right. Let's dive back into what we're supposed to be doing today. Conservative Party of Canada Policy Declaration. As amended by the delegates to the National Convention September 9th, 2023, as consolidated by the National Committee and approved by National Council. I just want to remind everybody that this is from 2023, so this is like long-standing policies. These hasn't been changed. This is what they were talking about in 2023. It's now 2025. So we were on page 15. Yeah, here we go. And I just about, like, I'm pretty sure I lost it. I think my brain broke. I think that's what happened, and that's why we stopped, right? Page 15, if I'm remembering correctly. What did I read last that, like... Oh, this is unions. Property rights. Oh, yeah, we support litigation to remove authority from the Canadian Human Rights Commission and the Human Rights Tribunal to regulate, receive, investigate, or adjudicate complaints related to Section 13 of the Canadian Human Rights Act. That's right. They wanted to stop giving people recourse through the government and through resources for recourse if they're being harassed and defamed and discriminated against, because of course, a lost decade. We also finally had marijuana legalized under that decade. Yeah, we got marijuana legalized. We got a pipeline. We got trade agreements with countries we never had them with before. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we had to work with the UK because Brexit was going on. We had to deal with COVID. That was a thing, and Trudeau did a good job with COVID. We had to deal with the truckers. We had to deal with Trump's first term, if you recall. We had to navigate that, as well as, if I'm not mistaken, there's some trade relation talks that went on with China, as well. Like, there's been a lot. There's, like, a lot has happened, and so to pretend that we've been going backwards, well, we've been going forwards, while these people are trying to drag us backwards is pretty crazy. Yeah, influx of funding to the arts. Yep. That's also a thing that happened. Property rights. The Conservative Party believes oh yeah, and they were saying that they wanted to question gay abortion and gay marriage, and great, yeah, good, yahoo. Property rights. The Conservative Party believes the government should seek the agreement of the provinces to amend the Constitution to include property rights, as well as guarantee that no person shall be deprived of their just right without due process of law and full, just, and timely compensation. I'm sorry, you're trying to turn property into people? Is that my understanding here? That's terrible. That's a terrible idea. If maybe I'm misunderstanding that, but we believe the government should enact legislation to ensure that full, just, and timely compensation will be paid to all persons who are deprived of personal or property as a result of any federal government initiative, policy, process, regulation, or litigation. Well, that is something that is almost solely going to benefit the upper percentages, right, of wealth. That's something that only assists businesses and wealthy people, because the average person is not buying more than one house. No, the average person right now isn't buying any house, but yeah, okay. Rights of workers. The Conservative Party of Canada, 1, supports the rights of workers to organize democratically, to bargain collectively, to appease, withdraw, and withhold services well, respecting the law, respecting the rights of other workers without sanction not to participate should they so choose, and C, respecting private property. Scabs. That's scabs. That's please respect the other workers that are trying to undercut the entire point of a strike. Ew. Don't be a scab. Believes that government should work with unions and employers in areas of federal jurisdiction to develop dispute settlement mechanisms and encourage their use to avoid or minimize disruption to services to Canadians. Support the right of union workers to a secret ballot and any strike vote and in all union elections. Support rights to work legislation to allow optional union membership, including student unions. Interesting. Supports the requirement that unions be subject to full transparent annual financial reporting so long as they enjoy a not-for-profit status and receive public support in the form of tax deductibility of union dues. Believes that the federal government must act to ensure that members of the union under federal jurisdiction have control over the use of the funds collected in the form of mandatory dues. The federal government should legislate the following: a federal public service union and unions in federally regulated industries must explicitly detail on an annual basis for their membership the portion of their budget allocated to political donations to media organizations, and to political activism and campaigns. Okay, interesting. B, federal public service unions and unions in federally regulated industries must allow members to opt out of the portion of their dues that are allocated for the activities above. But aren't all unions federally regulated to some degree? Am I wrong about that? Didn't they already talk about how, like, unions and employers in areas of federal jurisdiction, which is like, federal jurisdiction is the country. Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe I'm giving this document too much credit and being like, well, maybe I'm the dumb one, and it's just like, no, this is self-contradictory and doesn't make any sense. We believe that mandatory union membership and forced financial contributions as a condition of employment limit the economic freedom of Canadians and stifle economic growth. Well, that's just horseshit. Yeah, if you want to work with a company that has a union, you pay into the union. If you don't want to work at a place that has a union and don't want to pay those dues, then don't. That's the choice. Free speech. The Conservative Party recognizes that open dialogue is the basis of any democratic society. For this reason, the Conservative Party supports freedom of speech for all Canadians. The Conservative Party will promote policies and legislations designed to protect freedom of expression, speech in the public square, including media and internet platforms, in accordance with the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. We will safeguard Canadians' rights to create and access content on the internet without government-sanctioned censorship and nullify unconstitutional restrictions. What? Are there currently any unconstitutional restrictions that because if you combine this with this, then you've got a problem on your hands. You got a pretty big fucking problem on your hands, because now you've got a combination of fucking people are allowed to hate speech at you on the internet, but we're protecting you, we promise. I think that they just want to get rid of that. They just completely want to just get rid of Section 13 of the Canadian Human Rights Act by the looks of it. Because they want to nullify something. Well, the only thing they've mentioned so far is that, so. Protecting free speech of Canadians on Canadian campuses. The Conservative Party of Canada will incentivize federal funding to Canadian universities that have implemented Chicago principles. What the fuck are Chicago principles? I don't know what that is. Hold on, let me look. What is Chicago principles? According to Wikipedia, Chicago principles, also known as the Chicago Statement, are a set of guided principles intended to demonstrate a commitment to freedom of speech and freedom of expression on college campuses in the United States. Initially adopted in the University of Chicago following a report issued by a designated Committee on Freedom of Expression in 2014, they came to be known as the Chicago Statements or Chicago Principles. As a foundation for individual rights and education, led a campus to encourage other universities across the country to sign up for the principles or model their own. Since 2014, a number of other universities committed to the principles. Following a series of incidents in 2014 where students at various schools sought to prevent controversial commencement of speakers, the Committee of Freedom of Expression at the University of Chicago was formed and charged by the president to draft a statement that would articulate the university. Okay, but what is it? The report cited historical precedents by former U.S. Oh my god, what's the policy? An essential element of university culture. Discussion of ideas, even if some or even by most members of the university find them disagreeable, offensive, unwise, immoral, or wrong-headed. The president of the Robert J. Zimmer, which I believe would be, president of the university. Narrow exceptions to the general principle of freedom of expression may include restrictions on expressions that violates the law, that falsely defames a specific individual, harassment, blah, 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 blah. The committee wrote that the university is responsible is twofold. Promote lively and fearless freedom of debates. Is 2014 not in and around the time when people didn't want to, students were protesting, what's his name? Milo Yiannopoulos? It essentially says you're allowed to have Nazis speak on campus. Yeah, that's basically what this is. It says a series of incidents, but doesn't tell me what the series of incidences were. That's so fucking sussy to me. What can I get what was going on at the Chicago University in 2014? Hold on. I'm thinking that this is around in and around the Milo Yiannopoulos stuff. Let's just hold on. Hold on. Because the students have a right to protest. So them protesting, if that's enough to stop you from wanting to speak there, and the students don't want you to speak there, the students ought to be allowed to say hey, our money goes into this, we're paying for this, we don't want to listen to this man. And we don't want our money to go to this person. I think that's just equally as freedom of expression, regardless. What? Incident reporting. Okay, no, that's just incident reporting. Chicago campus incidents, university police. No, that's not what I'm looking for. There's not, nothing instantly pops up. Right? There's no, if I'm, as I'm looking, I'm just getting, there's no news articles about, the students protesting or something. This has gotta be, fucking Milo Yiannopoulos shit. Rallies and sit-ins and padlocks. Okay, let's see if this is it. I might have found it. Look back on the... No, this is the push for a trauma center on campus. This is 2015. Wait, well, hold on. Officially announced. No, it's not this. What are they talking about? History of free expression. Adopting the Chicago Statement. So whatever it is, whatever these series of instances were, they're not important enough for, like, it to just be something that fucking pops up. Right? Like, there's no... Bro, what the fuck? FIRE has received major funding from groups which primarily support conservative and libertarian causes, including the Bradley Foundation, Sarah Scaife Foundation, Charles Koch Institute, among other donors. Jack Dorsey. God, the shit that I find in these rabbit holes. You've gotta be fucking kidding me, dude. It is literally just, we should be allowed to hold fucking Nazi rallies at our university even if the students don't want it. That's all this is. That's all this is. Yeah, that's something that's what we really want to adopt. We want to adopt this fucking shitty-ass policy that gives students less control over their campus, so we can spew hate speech at them and invite whoever the fuck we want, regardless of who the students actually want to hear from. Because that wouldn't be important, right? That wouldn't be important at all. The students don't get rights. Fuck them. Such a mandate would mean that schools must abide by and protect freedom of expression, which they already do. As is described in the charter, failure to protect freedom would result in losing federal funding. If you don't let our right-wing extremist guy talk at your campus, we're gonna take your funding away. That's not authoritarian at all. That's not fascism whatsoever. I don't know what you're talking about. Why aren't you letting us radicalize your children and your young educational minds? Fuck you. Unfair hiring practices. Back to business. Okay. A conservative government will restore merit in Canada's innovation by directing hiring practices associated with federal research funding away from ideology and instead emphasizing first and foremost supporting and retaining Canada's research talent irrespective of personal immutable characteristics. That's DEI. That's DEI. That's them targeting DEI. Oh, this is awful. Everything in this is that's You know, it takes a minute for my brain to re-understand that the type of wording and rhetoric and the words I'm listening to, and like it's almost like speaking another language. You have to translate it. And like it takes my brain a minute to catch up. Defending Canada from foreign interference. Sure, Pierre Poilievre. How are you gonna do that without your security clearance, you chuckle fuck? The Conservative Party of Canada will uphold and defend Canada's sovereignty and democracy by supporting a robust measure to counter foreign interference in our elections. With a leader who is only a leader due to foreign interference and refuses to get its security clearance. Democratic institutions and with Canadian citizens. And again, I would also like to remind you, Pierre Poilievre was the guy going to hang out with the Russian-backed media influencers and handing out donuts to the truckers who were backed by right-wing America and Russia. Good job, guys! There is no away from ideology. Only ideologies you like or don't like. Well, yeah, no, you're 100% right. It's like they're not going to move away from ideology. They're just going to impose their own ideology as opposed to the current set, which is supposed to deter people from ideology being a deciding factor. Protecting workers, those in unions, public sector, or in self-regulated trades or professions. You know, you can be in a union and be in a trade and professions, and, like, why is unions pulled out here? But anyway, the Conservative Party does not support forced political, cultural, or ideological training of any kind. Except that you're doing that. You're directly imposing that. You have an ideology and you're trying to push it. Does not support forced political, cultural, or ideological training of any kind as a precondition of employment or practice. None? Zero. So, like, if there's a religious person who doesn't want, like, working as a nurse, who thinks abortion is wrong, and they want to refuse service to somebody who needs an abortion, what do you do? What do you do? Should they not have training? Because they already listed abortion up above. That's why I'm picking that as the option. But if there's somebody who has a belief that abortion is wrong and is murder and is bad or whatever, and then they have no training in how to handle somebody who needs an emergency abortion. What about somebody who thinks that, like, blood transfusions are the devil? There are people who think that. What if there's somebody who wants to work as a teacher and they think peanut allergies are woke? And then some kid goes into anaphylactic shock. I support safety culture in nuclear, medical, and aerospace. Right, safety culture, that's a whole thing. Safety culture is a whole, like, based on the idea that we should probably protect our workers from just dying. Dying on the job. Like, what do you mean? No, of any kind. Those employed in the public sector, unions, or self-regulated trades and professions should not be forced to make affirmations or participate in ideological programs as a condition of employment or practice. That's insane. Open federalism. Federalism. The Conservative Party supports the restoration of a constitutional balance between the federal and provincial and territorial governments. We are committed to the federal principle and to the notion of strong provinces within Canada. We believe the government should work cooperatively with the provinces to improve the lives of Canadians while respecting the division of power and responsibilities outlined in the Constitution of Canada. We believe the use of the federal spending power in areas of provincial jurisdiction should be limited. Okay, so all that money that that provinces get for, you know, doing more hospitals and for, like, medical stuff, that they want that to be not only limited, but also limited could mean you get less money, and limited could mean you have less responsibility to what that money is for. So it could mean that we're going to give you a lump sum and then the province decides whatever it wants to do with that money, which flies completely in the face of the idea of holding provinces and premiers responsible and to account for where that money goes and what projects it goes into. So that's probably terrible. And the provinces should be authorized to use the opting out formula with full compensation if they want to opt out of new or modified federal programs in an area of shared or exclusively provincial jurisdiction. What? What? So if the federal government decides it wants to build an east to west pipeline, and the provinces are responsible for doing the building in their portion, they could just opt out of it? How are you going to build your pipeline? Huh? Oh yeah, they want to privatize healthcare. Reform of the Federation. The conservative. This is fucking me. The conservative. This is divisive, by the way. This is divisive policy, not united. Like, this isn't uniting policy. This is divisive. This type of shit is the type of shit that sets like Alberta versus Manitoba and like sets up Quebec to fight with Ontario for resources and what they want to do and how they want to do things. Reform of the Federation. The Conservative Party believes the government should consider reforming Canadian federalism, taking into account the need to consolidate Quebec's position within the Canadian Federation due to the province not signing the Constitution Act of 1982. The need to... You, Quebec. That's what that says. I love Quebec. I haven't gotten to visit as much as I would like to, but like every time I've traveled through there, it's been lovely. The need to alleviate the alienation felt by the citizens of the West. The importance of building a long-term partnership with Indigenous peoples. I cannot roll my eyes any harder at watching them set up that Indigenous person so they can mock them in front of a fucking big old fucking refined piping transfer thing. Ugh. I really want to... I'm kind of curious about if I want to dig into LNG Canada, because like, look at what... He's literally looking down at this man, mocking him, because they set him up to look small at the podium in front of a giant fuck-off pipe thing. What the fuck? We believe the new Council of the Federation is an important innovation in Canadian intergovernmental relations, with the potential to improve collaboration among governments while respecting regional diversity and flexibility within the Federation. We support the work of the Council of the Federation and will encourage the development of better methods of interprovincial information sharing. Yeah, all of this is kind of already happening at this point, but not like this. Like, it's not happening in this way. It's not doing stuff like this. It's more like, we need better trade, so we're opening up trade between the provinces, and that's something the provinces are doing, and the only holdout province is fucking Alberta. It's Danielle Smith. And it's Danielle Smith doing the conservative thing, like the right-wing extreme conservative, so she's going directly against what they supposedly say that they want as part of their, like, hey, this is the thing that all the conservatives want to do. Fiscal, balanced budget legislation. The Conservative Party believes the government should enact balanced budget legislation, which includes overrides for declared national emergencies or other defined and presumably rare circumstances. Oh yeah, rare, eh? Though this didn't pan out very well. All right. Yeah, sure. Conservative Party notoriously bad at driving the economy into the ground. Bad for driving the economy into the ground. Debt repayment. The Conservative Party believes the government should implement a sustainable fiscal policy to eliminate the deficit and steadily repay the national debt. The debt that you racked up, thus stabilizing growth in interest charges, and reducing intergenerational equity from the debt burden passed down to future generations. So throw millennials under the bus. Again. On the other hand, there's I have a hard time believing that the people who wrote this understand some of the basics of economics. Debt is not a bad thing. A deficit isn't always a bad thing. They're just things that are part of an economy. There are things that are part of moving money around, right? So if you have like, so for example, if you view it as like we have a deficit in this, so we can have a positive in this, that's what balancing is. They're setting up balancing as if it should be balanced to be a constant positive and a constant growth, which is not how economics works. Think of it like, if you think of it like locks in a lake, like locks between, like you're going from one lake to another, right? The lock is low because you need to be lower to be in this lake. The lake is lower down. And if you want to go from this lake to this lake, you get in the lock, the water shifts, you move to the next lock, the water shifts back and moves your boat into the higher lake. You're moving the money. But you need to take the deficit. You need to be at the right space at the right time for one thing and another thing. Right? So you don't always have a positive in every single interaction. You have to be willing to compromise in some areas to grow in others. You can't build a pipeline without spending money. Right? So you take a deficit. You have to spend the money. You can't just magic a pipeline. And then what that is an investment, because you hope that the pipeline and the amount of money you spent on it will pay back in dividends and will pay back in economic growth and job creation and yada, 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 yada. Right? Which moves money. If your money isn't moving, your money is stagnating, that is the sign of an unhealthy economy. If the economy is the lifeblood of a government or of a country, if your blood is stagnating and not moving and pumping through your body, you don't need the same amount of blood in your head as you do at the tips of your fingers all the time. Your blood pressure would be fucked. It's not how it works. Your heart, it doesn't always have all the blood all the time in all the chambers. It has to move around. I don't think they understand economics. I am not a professional. These people are supposed to be professionals. But these are basic concepts. We support the introduction of a debt repayment plan, with the main part of budget surplus being allocated to debt repayment in order to achieve a declining debt to GDP ratio. Tax code simplification. The Conservative Party supports a simplified and understandable Income Tax Act. In order to achieve comprehensive, simplified, and understandable legislation for all Canadians, we support a comprehensive review of the Income Tax Act and Canada's fiscal framework. Canada needs a tax system for the 21st century, one that reduces compliance costs and increases transparency while promoting growth, investment, entrepreneurship, and job creation. Okay. I want to point this out to you really quickly. The people that they're talking about, that this tax benefit, or this tax simplification system is going to benefit, are people that are creating growth, investment, entrepreneurship, and job creation. That's not for that's not for workers. That's not for your mom working a job. That's not that. This is not the students. This isn't for the working class. This isn't something to benefit. They're stating it out loud. The working class is not in the list of people that this is supposed to benefit. The only people in this that this is supposed to benefit is supposed to be bigwigs and firms and like major business owners. That's who it's for. And when you simplify things like this, what it tends to mean is that there's like loopholes. You can't just magic a pipeline. Probably not the same kind of pipeline. Ha ha! I like that. Tax relief. The Conservative Party, wow. This is the longest paragraph so far. Conservative Party supports both immediate and long-term broad-based tax relief. Reducing personal income tax is a priority for the Conservative Party because it increases the take-home pay and raises the living standard of all Canadians. No, it doesn't. Not necessarily. Living standard isn't based only on what you make. It's based on your access to stuff. So, like, are your roads good? Do you have lighting? Is your infrastructure strong? Do you have access to amenities? Is your water clean? Those are things that are standard of living. Are you gonna pay for the pipe that bursts on the main road in the middle of winter? Is that gonna come out of your pocket? Whose pocket is that gonna come out of? No, it's part of taxes. Part of your taxes. We encourage the government to continue the process of reducing business taxes. See, the first one they talk about, business taxes. That's not you. That's not personal income. That's business taxes. Reducing business taxes encourages both foreign and domestic businesses to invest in Canada. Meaning more and better jobs for Canadian workers. Oh, now you like foreigners. Now you like immigration? Jack for Two says, spice it up. We're 2 out. We're 2 out from popping a spice. Lower business tax means more jobs as well as greater returns for pension plan members and those who own RRSPs, mutual funds, and common shares. That's not necessarily true. We believe that government should reduce capital gains tax and eliminate tax on capital gains that are reinvested. Lower capital gains tax encourages saving and investment, which means more capital for Canadian businesses, more job for Canadian workers, and bigger returns for Canadian investors. Yeah, you notice more jobs doesn't say what kind of jobs, how much you're getting paid for those jobs, this doesn't help the problem. This doesn't help the fucking problem. The problem is wealth inequality, and what you're talking about is bigger returns for Canadian investors, people that are investing in Canada. They're not necessarily Canadian. You already gave up the game that they could be foreign or domestic. So all this means for like the Canadian workers is there might be more jobs, maybe. This is assuming we're not talking about like robots, AI, yada, 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 yada. There's no protections for workers here. This doesn't benefit the average working American. It's like, I mean, great, we have 17 more McDonald's. Wahoo! This is all just, Red Cedar is right. This is moving money to the rich. Therefore, we support new measures in which the lifetime capital gains exemption for small business owners, farmers, and woodlot operators and fishermen will increase. We believe that payroll taxes should not exceed the amount necessary to properly fund employment insurance because unnecessary high payroll taxes are a tax on job creation. You see? Again, we're talking about cutting taxes for the top, 2%. Lower payroll taxes encourages hiring and business expansion. How? Why? Tell Elmo. Wait, hold on, I have that. Oh, sorry, hold on. That wasn't Elmo. Tell Elmo. Good old trickle-down economics. Yeah, that's what this is. Canada's tax system must be built on a foundation of fairness. Fairness. Yeah, okay. Haha, very funny joke. Fuck you. In this regard, we encourage the government to continue to close loopholes, such as the use of offshore tax havens, which erode the Canadian tax base and allow companies to avoid paying Canadian taxes. So their plan, if I understand this correctly, is to encourage encourage rich people to not move not move money out of Canada and putting it in offshore tax havens by making Canada an offshore tax haven. That's what this is. We're just gonna make less taxes for all of the big money so that way they don't have to they can use us instead. Like, that great. That sounds very fair, right? Very fair. They get more money, you get more opportunity to work more, I guess, because that makes sense, right? The Conservative Party supports the concept that all taxation must be fair and reasonable. Yeah, that definitely is what we've been talking about. Very reasonable. They get more money, you get the chance to maybe have a job. What's not fair about that? The government should work to eliminate instances of taxation on taxation. Why? How do you think the government gets money? And what is it supposed to do with that money? Let's talk about fairness after expressing interest in giving disproportionately huge tax breaks to the rich, right? We encourage the Conservative Party to move to a less progressive tax... They said they want to rewrite the tax code to bring it up to, like, we need a 21st century tax system. And then they say they want it to be less progressive. So they're like, guys, we need to update this and make it progressive. No, wait, never mind. Go back. Go backwards. We encourage the Conservative Party to move to a less progressive tax system by reducing the number of personal income tax brackets. Oh, really? I wonder why. I would like to point out that having less personal income tax brackets means that it's very likely that people that are in lower income tax brackets will be put into higher income tax brackets, meaning they would have to pay more, not less. Supporting families. The Conservative Party recognizes the need to support families and children. That's why we voted against kids having school lunches and accidentally put forward hold on, where was it? Just the other day, Alberta canceled snacks for kids with cancer. Let me see if I can find the article. Here it is. Alberta. Big conservative Alberta. You know, Danielle Smith. Parents of Alberta kids undergoing cancer treatments told to bring their own snacks. Alberta Health Services is facing criticism from parents who have children undergoing outpatient cancer treatment over what appears to be a cost-cutting measure now requiring them to bring their own snacks, drinks, and other foods to clinics. Quote, these kids are already going through hell, so to no longer offer them popsicles, soda pop, or other snacks seems like such a silly thing, said Amanda Moppet. Amanda, whose 11-year-old son, Easton, is battling brain cancer. She describes them as small, colorful pieces of joy on what can be a torturous day for the children and their families. Moppet said she learned about this new AHS policy, that's Alberta Health something Service, Alberta Health Service policy on Friday when she took her son for his latest round of chemotherapy. That can last up to 8 hours and sometimes includes a lumbar puncture to check for cancer cells in his spinal fluid. The new policy is also frustrating for Bree, who has a 15-month-old daughter who is undergoing outpatient chemotherapy for cancer in both of her eyes. These kids are going through horrible times, and you're going to take away food of all things. Between 6 and 8 hours at the hospital for each round of chemotherapy. Have those freeloading kids tried not having cancer? Yeah, fucking little bastards. What are you doing? You cutting into our fucking tax money with your popsicles that cost like fucking 2 cents? How much do how much are they? Danielle, how much does one popsicle cost the government? Since obviously they're bought in bulk. How much is one I need to know how much one fucking popsicle is, dude. It's important. What is wrong with you fucking people? You're monsters. This is evil. Like, I'm not trying to mince words here. I'm not trying to sound like I'm being an extremist or anything, but you're cutting popsicles to kids with cancer. And you're like, yeah, we're the good guys. We're fiscally responsible. Fuck them kids. What the fuck? What the actual shit, dude? Yeah, we support families and children. Uh-huh. Sure, hold on, I need a drink. You know, if my mom wasn't coming over later today, I would do this as a shot. I would have made my drink, poured another shot, done a shot, and then fucking kept going. We need a triple, boys. We need a triple for fucking... Good God. Yeah, I got dark Captain Morgans right now. I also have stuff for White Russians, but it's not vodka, Mom. Sorry. I don't think you'd like it, actually. We got other stuff for you, don't worry. Oh. Excuse me. I could see wanting healthier snacks, but not no snacks. I mean, it depends on what the popsicles are made out of, right? They could be, like, made with, like, you know, concentrated fruit juice. You know what I mean? So, like, the popsicles are healthy. I don't know. I don't know this much about the fucking popsicles that we're not giving to kids now. What the fuck, Alberta? You enjoying your fucking conservative, fiscally responsible fucking premiere? You stupid bitch. Boulevard, Canadian made. Yeah, there's a lot of things that are like made in Canada, but not a product of Canada. So it's very likely, like, it's very possible that it is South American, but is like made in Canada. You know what I mean? Conservatives lack empathy. So if they want to be heartless, they can endure what they're suggesting others go through for their vanity. Yeah, right? Who cares? Give the kid a popsicle. What the fuck? Again, I would like to point out. I'm gonna point out real quick. This was the set statement in 2023. This shit with the fucking this is from March 31st of 2025. Now, they said in a press conference, if I understand correctly, that they were going to walk this back. Yeah, here it is. April 1st, Alberta's Health Services reverse course says child cancer patients won't be deprived of food. So we got the 31st. The first, I kind of would not be surprised if they were then like, April Fools, fuck you, you still don't get popsicles, you little shits. Like, one day goes by, and they're like, immediately like, oh shit, whoops, oops. Fucking Danielle, you stupid bitch. You're evil. That is evil. You cannot tell me that that's not evil. Nah, that's not it. There was a clip of them trying to talk about it somewhere. I don't remember where it was, though. Anyway. Fuck, man. Start a popsicle fundraiser? Hell yeah. What the fuck, Alberta? God. she's driving municipalities into fucking bankruptcy. Holy municipalities into bankruptcies. She let that one fucking whole ass city burn to the fucking ground. She's driven the country the closest that you could get from the closest you could get in of like net even a province could ever be monetarily, because Alberta ought to be the richest fucking Alberta should be the richest fucking goddamn province in Canada, and it's not. And their people are suffering, and their municipalities are going broke, and their shit's burning to the ground. And it's because they have a conservative fucking crazy whack job who thinks that not giving kids popsicles is gonna save her economy because she wants to, not tax rich people and give massive tax breaks. Like, what is happening in Alberta? Guys, we love you. Stop hitting yourselves. We believe that Canada's decreasing birth rate needs to be addressed by reducing the barriers facing those wishing to start and grow their families, thus ensuring the well-being and long-term sustainability of our communities. I mean, sure. Okay, what do you think those barriers are, and how are you going to fix them? Because I feel like I would agree with this, but disagree on what your reasoning is. We support tax fairness. What? Why are you talking about taxes? Why are you talking... Okay. I've said this before, and I said this during my Project 2025 read-through. If you want people, Canadians, to have more children, you need to make having children accessible. And the way you have making children accessible is you make the hospitals better, with better wait times, with better rooms, with better care, with privacy maybe, a little bit more of that. You have early childhood development programs, including development and daycare, and education and support for new parents, whether that be a hotline, whether that be in-house visits, whether that be like accessibility to hospitals and healthcare and pediatricians. Why not have like a nurse that when you have a baby, a nurse comes and stays at your house for like the first 2 months? What about that? How about something like that? Doesn't that sound cool? That just, a person that you can trust, that's a professional, that can help you? Paid leave for the first year for both parents? And without, like, being discriminated against at your job? Because you had a kid? Oh, how about you pay women for doing that? So not only do they get paid time off, but also like the government gives them money and like is like, hey, listen, you're going through a lot, you're doing a really big job right now, here's $20 an hour for the next year of your life. How about something like that? How about like care packages for new mothers, and fathers. So care packages for families. You have a kid, congratulations, here's the first year of diapers, here's formula and powder and a bunch of, here's a care package, here you go, it gets delivered once a month. How about that? No? You don't want something like that? No? That you want people to have kids? That's a way to get people to have fucking kids. And, making the housing affordable. That would be good too. Being able to afford where you're fucking living. How about, you've had a kid? Here's a house. Here's a 2-bedroom apartment that gets paid for the next year. Come on, man. My brother in Christ. How about treating women with some fucking goddamn respect? What the fuck does tax fairness have to do with anything? The children yearn for the mines. We support tax fairness for families by eliminating inequities between single and dual income families. A conservative government will permit spouses to electively report income on a joint or household basis so that progressive rates apply to income of families rather than individuals as the taxing unit. That's not going to do anything. We support the elimination of all tax disadvantages to families, including those who care for children at home. This recognizes the economic value of stay-at-home parents and supports the introduction of tax fairness measures such as there's already, if you have a stay-at-home mom, they can already count as a dependent on your taxes, so that doesn't mean anything. We also recognize that many of our seniors lived on single-family incomes as one parent stayed at home and cared for their children. Our seniors deserve tax fairness to eliminate the discrepancy between single and dual family income in retirement. So the economy was better when you were younger, therefore you deserve tax cuts? What? We recognize the value of the home giver and support tax relief for families who provide home care. How about, you know what would probably fix that? You know, guys. You think you know what might be good? You know what might be good for a stay-at-home adult? UBI. Universal Basic Income. It means that if there's somebody staying at home doing all the work with the kids, there's still an income coming in. UBI. UBI would help a lot if you want this. Spending controls. Like, what are you gonna not? If a stay-at-home caregiver is already not working, what are you taxing? They don't have an income tax. What taxes are you gonna cut? What are you talking about? We support tax fairness, but fully acknowledge that we will be more fair to some. Yeah. Yeah. Spending controls. The Conservative Party believes that the government should strengthen enforcement and the criminal code penalties for fraud involving misuse of tax dollars. All they care about is how much they don't understand taxes. Why are you so dedicated to being wrong about this one thing? All of their shit relies on taxes. The government functions off of taxes. But, all of their points and things that they want to do are just vague about your taxes will be less. Therefore, your life will be easier. But that's not even necessarily true, because the taxes pay into the things that make our lives easier. It's almost like their entire base requires that the people who are voting for them don't understand what taxes are. Right? UBI works but requires affordable housing. Yes. It's one of those things that you can do both, but even if you you can have UBI without affordable housing and it would still help. And you can have affordable housing without UBI and it would still be better than having neither. So I don't think it requires affordable housing. Anyway, we believe the government should introduce... Oh, sorry, hold on. No, I'm right. I was in the right spot. We believe the government should introduce a system of program evaluation to ensure that all major government spending programs are independently evaluated on a regular basis. This will ensure that programs are meeting government priorities and delivering value for money. Okay, so they've mentioned this a couple of times now. They're talking about reevaluating and doing these evaluations, and it was the same thing with the American Project 2025, right? Who is going to be doing these evaluations? And where are you going to get the money? Who's paying for it? You have to pay people to do these evaluations, right? This is hours and hours and hours and hours of combing and work. Because you'll notice that Doge is so ineffective because they're not actually putting in the work. They should not have results. Something like Doge, if it were to actually operate effectively and efficiently, shouldn't be cutting things instantaneously because it should take a lot of time and effort and evaluation to actually delineate and find and investigate fraud. And as you've noticed, not a single person has been charged with fraud yet, and not a single person has gotten any money back. So, the fuck are you talking about? We believe in an effective and efficient penal system where penile system, more like it, because we're gonna fuck you. Sorry, I couldn't. I stopped, thought about it, and then I decided to say it anyway. We need to implement cost controls and income earning opportunities for individual inmates and for prison institutions to reduce the burden on the taxpayer. Yes, slave prisons. This will also provide job-ready skills training and work experience for the inmates upon release. This is literally this is the excuse. This is slavery excuses. It's like, yeah, we don't really pay these people to work here, but, you know, they get job skills. And they say the same thing about internships. So you get slave wages or no wages or just slavery. Like, maybe we don't do that. Maybe we actually just fix our fucking prison system so it's we're only in extreme situations having people in prison. Because that's what it should be, right? We can all pretty much get on board with people should only really be in prison as it exists now in extreme situations where they need to be wholly removed from society. But right now, the majority of people in prisons do not need to be wholly removed from society. You've got rehabilitation programs. If you want less people in prison, you do education. You have better socioeconomic statuses. You have better access to public services. That is how you get less crime. And that is a fact. That is a statistical number. Healthcare as well. Specifically, like, access to mental health care. Which is not to say that, like, you have to have, like, a mental illness. That is to say that, like, people get stressed out when economic times are difficult, and it drives people to do crime in some cases. So if you have more mental accessibility for people to manage that stress, that is going to prevent them from doing crime because they have other options. People tend not to do crime when they have other options. You want people to fucking pirate less of your media? Make sure your media is accessible. Disney doesn't want people to pirate The Little Mermaid? Stop putting it in the fucking vault, motherfuckers! You're not giving anybody an option. Equalization. Equalization is an essential component of Canada's national building efforts. The Conservative Party believes that provinces and territories should be able to provide comparable public services at comparable levels of taxation. Therefore, we support an equalization formula and a territorial financing formula which are fair to every jurisdiction and which promote economic growth. That prevents economic growth. What are you talking about? That this is why that is why the American school system is so fucked up. The American school system is so fucked up because the amount of money that goes into the schools is allocated based on the region that the school is in. So if you're in a poorer area, less taxes go into that school. So you're saying that Alberta has more money, therefore it has more access to tax dollars, which means they should have more social programs, or more money should go into those social programs. Right? For example. And PEI can get fucked. They don't get any schooling. Like, that's not how that fucking... No! This, again, we're back to the conservative, the extremism... The right-wing extremist, regressive conservatives, the fiscally irresponsible right-wing extremist conservatives, regressive conservatives, are divisive. Their policies are divisive. They are not uniting Canada, they are dividing Canada. Because when the provinces are divided, when the people are divided, when the people are struggling with resources, they struggle to and are fighting with each other and are easier to take advantage of. This is divide and conquer. That's what this is. This is, we're gonna move all of the money into the rich people, and we're gonna make the peasants fight among themselves so they don't fucking notice. That's what this is. And I'm glad this glass was shorter because I just flung my wrist, and I definitely, if this was a bottle, I would have knocked it over. That basically means that the Yukon, the Northwest Territories, and Nunavut are gonna be absolutely fucked when it comes to education and any kind of social programs. Completely. Because they don't have the population and they don't have the industry. I would like to point out that in comparison, the Liberal Party right now is investing in the northern provinces and the northern territories because that's important for fucking our trade routes and our safety as a nation, particularly with Russia and China eyeing that whole bunch of fucking shit that's going on up there right now. It's the north of Canada is incredibly geographically important for, like, from geopolitics, from its location, from the resources that are there, from the threats coming from America and Russia and China, are all very, like, this is key. This is incredibly important. And the fact that Carney and the Liberals are already on top of that, and the fucking conservatives are spouting shit that we're just gonna throw them under the bus as if that's not gonna screw us over. Fucking, yeah. Monetary policy. The Conservative Party supports a stable and predictable monetary policy that creates a positive climate for investment and growth for Canada within the context of the global economy. Okay, sure. Whatever. Pensions. The Conservative Party believes that company pension funds should be invested by independent trustees for the benefit of employees and should be held at arm's length, not accessible by the company or its creditors. The Conservative Party is committed to bring public sector pensions in line with Canadian norms by switching a defined contribution pension model, which includes employer contributions comparable to the private sector. So that's just saying that they want to put more pension money into people working for the government, I guess. Carbon tax. We believe that there should be no federally imposed carbon tax or cap and trade systems on either the provinces and territories or the citizens of Canada. The provinces and territories should be free to develop their own climate change policies without federal interference or federal penalties or incentives. That's literally the federal government's job. But the carbon tax has already been yeeted out the window for citizens. It still exists for industry, but it doesn't exist. The personal carbon tax is gone. It's one of the reasons why our the cost of gas went down locally in your area. If you're Canadian and you notice the price of gas went down, like car gas, that's why. If climate change can't be dealt with by individuals or smaller groups, climate change is an everyone problem, and we need to be on board and be doing the same thing. Having one province out on its own just completely blowing up the amount of emissions that will be counted for the entire country will be incredibly problematic and makes it nigh impossible for Canada to talk in global in geopolitical spaces. So like things with the Paris Accords, Canada needs to be working together. Again, divisive. It's divisive. Single tax return for Quebec. A growing number of Quebecers are demanding a simplified process for collecting taxes. So while recognizing the distinctiveness of Quebec, a Conservative government will work with provincial government to support the application of a unique income tax to reduce the administrative burden. Capital gains tax. The Conservative Party shall never tax the capital gains on the Canadian principal residence of its citizens. So remember when you said all this capital gain shit up here? You remember when they said all that? Yeah, also they're never gonna tax the capital gains. So everything that they said before now comes with this gigantic asterisk. Income tax review. The tax system is fundamental to a competitive environment, including growth and a fair society. But you just divvied it up. is it fair that, like, Ontario and Northern Ontario gets worse schools than Southern Ontario because there's more industry in Southern Ontario? Like, because Toronto exists, everybody in the Toronto area should get a better education because there's less industry in Northern Ontario? Like, no, fuck you. The fair is that everybody pays their fair share and everybody gets equal and equitable opportunities. The Conservative Party supports the creation of an independent committee to work on comprehensive tax review. Shut the fuck up. Adjustment to the dollar sales threshold for mandatory GST/HST registration. We believe in increasing the small business revenue threshold for registering and charging GST/HST from the original 1991 rate of $30,000 to its current inflated adjusted value, and then have it indexed yearly based on Statistics Canada All Items Consumer Price Index at the all Canada level. Okay, fine, whatever. Eliminate GST on essential maternity and newborn products. Conservatives support the elimination of GST on essential products for motherhood and the arrival of a newborn baby, just as is for food products. Oh my god, that's something that I might actually agree with. They finally picked something that might actually do something. And guess what? It's still just taxes. Everything is taxes. Okay, well, we're coming up to our 2-hour mark. So I'll call it there. We're on page 19. Jesus Harold Christ. The prices will go back up eventually. Yeah, unless you put some kind of, like, cap on shit. I don't know. We'll see. Spice it up, but seriously, I appreciate you doing this. I've been questioning my support before, and now I'm really reevaluating. Listen, I am here to help. I think, okay, so here's the thing. Here's the thing with, like, people who have voted conservative in the past. I am not shitting on you. You are not the person I'm having an issue with. The people I'm having an issue with right now are the people who refuse to read these things. The people who don't know that these things are going on. The fact that you are here and listening and willing to participate, willing to ask questions, and willing to actually look at the data and the things that the Conservative Party are saying are so important. And I am so grateful that there are people out there who are historically supportive of the Conservative Party who are being like, wait a minute, what the fuck is going on? Because the people who are going to really make a difference are the people who are, one, willing to do that, and two, are able to then take that information and spread that out to other conservatives. Conservatives can't talk, they won't talk to me. They won't talk to me. They cannot talk to me. There is no communication that's capable there. Not from an unwillingness on my part, but for the most part because I have a lot of information and they are not able to accept a lot of that information. This is the experience that I've had. A lot of like hardcore conservatives, or a lot of just conservatives in general, have ideas that they believe and they will not hear otherwise. And they cannot engage in conversation about these things. And the main reason why, well, there's a few reasons, so I don't want to speculate too much about that. That's going to be very much up to the individual. But people who were conservative, or people who are conservative, because guess what? The shit that I've been reading out are not conservative ideals. They're right-wing extremist ideals. They're not things that conservatives want. Most conservatives don't care about gay marriage in Canada. For the most part. They might not like it, they might not really want it around them, but they are not against gay people getting married. That's not a thing that they're concerned about. A lot of conservatives are also totally fine with taxes, as long as those taxes make sense. They're like, no, taxes are fine, but we want those taxes to be reasonable. We want those things to make sense. We want these things to be, we want to be able to be communicative about what's going on, and I want to see the results of my taxes in my local areas. Right-wing extremists are the ones that are taking your tax dollars, seeing the usage of your tax dollars in your local area and saying, well, actually, your tax dollars are being used for drug dens. I thought you wanted safer areas. You want safer roads? You want safer cities? Well, safe injection sites are literally safe. The whole point is to help people who are addicted to drugs and help people who are addicts stop being addicts or behave in a way that is acceptable to your average conservative neighbor. These are all things conservatives want. But this right-wing regressive extremism, authoritarian, most conservatives are for fucking diversity. They just don't recognize that it's called that. Most conservatives aren't racist. Most conservatives don't hate brown people. Most conservatives don't actually hate immigrants. What they don't like is the imbalance that currently exists. And extremists are taking advantage of that dissatisfaction and pointing it at gay people, pointing it at trans people, pointing it at if fucking the news and Pierre Poilievre didn't say, like, two genders exist and women in sports, you wouldn't fucking know and you wouldn't fucking care. You wouldn't have even fucking noticed, because you know what? It doesn't fucking affect you at all. It's fucking insane, dude. It's fucking insane. The gas prices go down. Fuck the liberals. No, most conservatives aren't like that. Unfortunately, there's a whole lot of rhetoric, and there's a whole lot of thought-stopping cliches. If you want to know about a thought-stopping cliche, please go check out Debate Hub. I talked about it with Chris Shelton. There's a YouTube short about it. Go check out what a thought-stopping cliche is. This is what goes on. This is what happens to people. They cannot have the conversation. They don't know how to talk anymore. They don't know how to be reasonable. And then they just scream and shout about how everybody else is being unreasonable. It is the people like Snoopy who are going to be able to act as that bridge between somebody like me who is being like, what the fuck are we doing? Because me saying it like that is already too aggressive. But Snoopy might have access to people, and there might be people in your life that you can actually be like, yeah, no, you know how we talked about this thing? No, I totally agree with you about this problem. But here's this thing right here, and you should look at it. Meanwhile, I'm out here being like, you motherfuckers are illiterate. I'm gonna throw hands. So, but it is the people who are willing to learn, the people who are willing to read, the people who are willing to listen to the other side that are going to be able to actually make an incredibly large difference in this upcoming Canadian election. It is you. It is those people. The NDP has basically given up, and they've moved to the Conservative. There are some people in there's some people in the Bloc that have moved. The Green is doing its wibbly wobbly thing that it does. But if the Conservatives, as much as they are not doing great, if some of the core conservative base starts to recognize that the Conservative Party is nigh unrecognizable to what they actually, like, what they imagine it is in their head, then it will throw everything for a loop, and that will get you back the Conservative Party that you want. I have no issues with center-right conservatives. I think center-right conservatism is healthy and good for a country. I don't necessarily agree with them, but that's the point. The point is that the disagreement needs to exist to have a healthy dialogue and to make good decisions as a country. I think center-right is an incredibly important place to be. I don't think it's healthy for the center-right to be overtaken by authoritarian extreme right-wing horseshit. That's not healthy. And the people who can make the biggest change in fixing that are the center-right. It's those people, because guess what? You outnumber the extremists. And you can be louder. Good God knows I know you can be louder than they are. I believe in you. I believe in you. You can do it. Please. Please. All right, we got spice going. We got the spice. Thank you very much, Hawk Skull, for getting the spice going. Let's do that. And then, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We didn't break 20, so I don't have to do a whole shot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Ooh. What do we get? Ah! Everything's fine. We got a new one. Ooh, it's tequila lime. Brr. See if I can get a better. Can you see that? Can you see that at all? I know it's mirrored. It doesn't. It's good. The picture on it's cool. Picture on it's kind of like Day of the Dead looking. I almost said Mardi Gras. That's not right. It's very green. Like, look how green that is. Ooh. All right, bottoms up. Let's. Oh, I'm not gonna bottoms up this. I'm not crazy. The lime. Okay, so it's spicy, like, out the gate. It doesn't have, like, that delay on it. But it's got, like, a smooth... I like this one. This one's good. And this one gets a winky smiley face. Winky smiley face! The lime, I really, really like. That's really good. And, like, the spice is, like, is drawn out. Like, it stays pretty consistently spicy the whole time before it, like, settles in. That's a good one. That's a good spicy meatball. Thank you so much. But I'm gonna cut it here. I've got to go do some mart. I gotta reorganize my capitalist hellscape that is my supermarket. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm gonna get out of here. I hope you all have a good day. I'll be back tomorrow, and I will also be live on Debate Hub later that night. So if you want to learn about marketing and how evil that is, and how manipulative it is, where people like Pampers put out ads that tell you if you don't buy Pampers, you don't love your baby. Yahoo! That'll be over on Debate Hub, so join us there. But I will be back tomorrow. And then on Thursday, Chris Shelton is joining to talk about Trumpism, which will be over on Debate Hub as well, so go and check us out. It's Debate Hub official. But on Thursday, I likely will not be here because... Oh, no. Maybe I will be. We'll see. I gotta double check the timing, so either way, tomorrow I will be back here. Same bat time, same bat place, talking about the same batshit crazy nonsense. Thank you so much. I'm gonna get out of here. I appreciate you all. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. God have mercy on your soul.